Black metal hails from Finland. Today I have a special CD for review. Why special, you might ask? Well, because it's 15 years prior to this one. Now Trollheims Grott is back with their third album. So without further ado, let's take a look. So this is the album that, as the cover says, goes against humans. For people who don't actually remember a band called Trollheims Grott, is that, well, this is kind of two brothers working the band. These guys play in other bands like Horna and other black metal projects, not to mention other web projects. But now these guys are back with a third member, and after this long break, it's time for a new album. So let's take a look at this booklet here. As you can see, this is not your typical black and white, all grim, old school design, but more gray, no, sorry, green and gold. And as you can see, this is the new lineup having this TG as a new member of the band. Now, all these guys also playing Baptism Live Ritual. That is, they are live members of the band, but not more than that. And here's the lineup photo. You might notice the two brothers here and TG in the middle. And kind of ongoing theme with this album is this humanity's cancer, this anti-human, all troll kind of approach. Is not very typical unless you include the troll thing, the troll theme. And this is how the digipack looks like, nothing underneath. But all in all, nice design by the band, released by World Terror Committee on the 31st of October 2018, so it's already been out for a while, but the vocalist was kind enough to send this particular review copy to my home address in order to review it. So what's the music like then? Well, you might know the previous albums, but if you don't, doesn't even matter. Trollheims Grott is all about combining familiar elements with more kind of a modern-like approach to black metal. Now, don't get upset if I say modern. That is only to say that this is not one of those nostalgic pieces which takes you back to the 80s or 90s. This is very much a kind of a release that is very 2000 something. I'm not going to say any particular era or year because it doesn't really matter. What matters is that the music here within is good. It's melodic, it's very sinister, it's kind of a malignant. It's also one of those albums that, even though they are really, really nice riffs, if you actually pay attention to a set of single riffs here, you can pretty much figure out that they're good. But for some reason, which I cannot explain with any kind of reason, is that those riffs are not, in fact, something that kind of like end up running in my head all over again. So they are not that kind of a hooky. They are not that kind of a hit riffs. They are not the type of, you end up humming by the end of the day when you hit the sack and all that stuff. But they are very essential in order to build this atmosphere this album is kind of a hosting. And what an inspiring atmosphere that is, because it's not all just evil or sinister. It's also a little bit melodic. It's kind of industrial to some sense. And I think one of the key factors here is the use of keyboards. It's not overwhelming, but it's very important part of this album and the whole music. So it's not kind of dominating, but if it was removed and you could compare it to a version where they are included, you would notice what a difference that would make. So basically every element here are more essential than you might actually figure out. Those keyboards, while they are rather simple in design, they are kind of important layers. They are just there to kind of back up the guitars, bass, drums. And now the fast pace is somewhat dominating element here as well, but it's not all the way down just that. And I think that is one of the things that actually make this album more interesting, because if it was all the way kind of a speedy thing to do, it would get a little bit boring. at least with this kind of not so memorable riffs. But like I said, even though those riffs are not memorable, in my opinion, I'm not gonna say that that might be the case with you. And even as such, it's more than the sum of these individual elements. Now, everything from vocals to the drum work to the keyboards, guitars, everything, it's just working nicely. This is definitely a good and strong album, and I must say, after a couple of more spins than my initial one, I had to kind of think differently. My first go was like, well, it's not that special. It's nice, but where's the catch? So it took me a couple of spins to figure it out. Like, hey, now I'm gonna get it. Now I'm actually liking it, and I don't know what happens. This is some of those things which is just impossible to say when it comes to art. It might be a movie, it might be an album, it might be a book. Sometimes you need just more than your initial feeling to go there. So it had to kind of like crawl under my skin in order to like it. I'm not gonna say that this is the best black metal album this year, but it's definitely one of the better albums in the genre in this last quarter. So really enjoying it, and I think you should give it a listen, especially if you're not shunned away by use of keyboards, if you're not shunned away by the term modern. But however, if you're into old school stuff, this won't be your cup of tea. But never make no mistake, this is an album you should not miss. It's a good black metal album filled with nice ingredients and nice, skillful playing, good vocals, nice production. That's all there is to say, so go check it out and don't get yourself bruised. See ya and bye bye.